everybody, welcome back. It's Food News and Chews Radio. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Sponsored by Sullivan University. Sylvia, Jeremy, how y'all doing?
Doing
Fantastic.
Great.
How are you?
Fine.
Doing good. We got a lot of show today. We're gonna talk to Jake of Jake Cigar Bar coming up in the second half of the show. Sullivan graduate, great dude, bar owner, knows cigars, knows
So
bourbon
cool.
more than anybody. Knows bourbon as much or better than anyone I've ever met. So we're gonna find out some ins and outs.
I bet he's entertaining when you go to you go, right?
Oh, I
on a
love
regular
Jake's.
basis.
I love the cigar bar. I actually live close to there, and I'm not saying I moved over there because of the cigar bar, but it didn't, it didn't hurt.
Deter you.
Right.
Today we wanted to talk about AI. It's in the air. Everybody's
AI and
talking
food.
AI, and how does it fit into food in the restaurant business, and even the food. I was reading about molecular cuisine.
Right.
And that's some famous chef is using
Ferran Adrià.
algorithms.
Really? This is different then.
Algorithms that
Not
help
exactly
him
molecular.
select ingredients that can
Who is this
meet
guy?
the test. I can't remember.
Okay.
I didn't know the name, but he's a big time chef.
Well,
A big time restaurant.
I mean, that's what AI is really good at. It's looking for patterns and finding things, and like you could probably scan menus and see, all right, 38% of menus are using beets this time of year, which means you should,
So
things
I
like
think
that.
that's where it kind of comes in handy. I mean, I think this is a philosophical conversation we're going to have, right? Because this is just how will this affect our industry? And I look at the restaurant side of it with all the automation I saw in the equipment coming, and we're talking about ovens and things that have conveyor belts and light sensors and heat sensors that can cook different ingredients that are different things at different temperatures and basically have them ready at the same time. So that does take a lot of babysitting out of cooking.
Yeah.
But there has to be a lot of prep work done and pre-cooking done for that. And there has to be a physical contact piece to where, there's cooking done and something putting on a plate and being served. So I don't think AI and the automation, I think it will streamline the industry, like the amount of labor force we have, but it won't get rid of it.
No, but it frees up your staff
Yes.
for serving customers, because that'll never go away.
That will never
There are
go
no
away.
virtual.
And we really could use some automation in the kitchen because it's brutal and it's really hard. And I think this is a really good conversation. But the other side of this AI stuff is what you talked about, Twitch. It's good at figuring things out. So if we have a surplus of beets in this area, how do we get them to a starving part of the world?
Right. I think probably one thing
How do we forecast?
I think AI is going to be used in the future in kitchens by helping chefs or whatever the food institutions, whatever, get the ingredients they're looking for, sourcing.
And we need to talk about that supply chain.
Right.
Things
Your
like that.
sources locally, but you might not know a source in, let's just pick Indiana, right? You might not have a source there, but there might be a guy there who has a lot of beets he wants to unload, and I keep using beets.
Yeah.
But you be able to hook up the buyer with the seller in a way that you might not be able to do without the AI.
Right. See, that's where I see this really coming into play and making a major change in the entire world, especially when it comes to health and wellness and food. Is because, just like the Dell factory, they kind of made things on demand. And there's got to be so much inefficiency in the market because of hoarding and stockpiling to make sure that your unit doesn't run out of product, right? And we saw the food system crash completely when restaurants were taken out of the equation during the pandemic. The grocery stores couldn't keep up, right? Yet we're throwing milk down the trash.
Yeah.
So I think, if we have automated systems and delivery and we have better forecasting, then you're not going to have a need for stockpiling, a year's worth of stuff where it could be distributed more evenly, more efficiently,
and hopefully
more cost-effective.
The Russians are bombing the grain industry, and it's going to be perilous for feeding people in the world. And underdeveloped countries are going to be the ones that. So, you would hope that this can maybe help with that, with all the negatives that are coming up.
Well, maybe AI can look at and go, listen, there's going to be a wheat shortage. So, you look at the artificial intelligence does the math, and it says you're best off planting wheat instead of soybeans this year, or whatever it is.
To meet
that
the
kind of
worldwide needs. And Chef, what's the difference in AI for high-end restaurants versus, you go into certain McDonald's now, and there's no counter service. You go up to a kiosk.
And there's AI at the drive-through.
Yeah,
You're
AI at the
talking to
drive-thru.
AI in some point. In some
And
point
you
where
have burger flippers that are robots.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I mean, in the fast food restaurants, the automation's been coming for years. In fact, all that's left is the worker. I mean, they've almost taken that out of the equation. But their equipment, is geared towards that. I think the entrance to buying this stuff is really expensive. If you're a unit like McDonald's and you cook hamburgers and French fries, then you can afford to spend all the money on those pieces of equipment. Fine dining, I think it's the new innovations and reduction of cost on the technology that's already been in the fast food restaurants that we're seeing. We're seeing smaller scale, more affordable stuff that we can apply certain automation to. Like, let's say sous vide, for instance.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I talk about that, and that's a very basic one, guys, compared to what I've seen. It wasn't 10 years ago. And in fact, 10 years ago, the circulators were $1,500 to buy one, the water circulators. Now they're $100 at Walmart.
yeah, everyone can have one.
Right? So now, every station in the kitchen could automate one dish sous vide. And there's no cooking,
Even
period,
in a high-end restaurant.
Right. So if you have a 20-item menu in 4 stations, you've taken 25%
Which
of
is
your
significant.
menu for $400, and it's cooked itself.
That's
all the
amazing.
chef really has to do is take it, sear it, and plate it. There's a
And plate it,
lot
which
less going on.
Yeah.
A lot less cleaning, a lot less flames and carbon and grease.
Let me ask you this. Like one of the applications is having, and it's called Slang AI, to answer calls and make calls for reservations. Is that possible? I mean, it seems like to me there's still a personal touch.
I mean, if
in
you can
that,
have an
but
automated, you call your
reservation
bank and you
system,
talk to a
right?
computer.
Or you do open table.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it'd be really, I think from what I'm seeing, guys, period. I mean, this is data, real data. 95% of guests out there do not want to talk to the restaurant. They want to
don't
get
wanna
on their
talk.
phone and
Yep,
just
yep,
get
yep,
a
yep.
reservation.
Yep.
And now, if they have special requests, that's when they call. If they need, and that's what you're not going to get from the computer. Now, I think it probably could be automated to a point where you're at like maybe 80-90% capacity, and then that's where you have to kind of juggle things to make special exceptions for people. So I don't think I'd trust a computer to fully book my restaurant and to handle exceptions and dietary restrictions and notes.
What about things like, so what AI is really good at is learning. It's really good at learning fast. So if you have AI in your restaurant, there's some software, and you can tell we have a recurring customer. They come in 3 times a month. Every time they come in, they buy a bottle of red wine. Well,
So you can track
So you
that.
can look, and now you go, okay, this person bought this wine, and the computer says, listen, offer them this bottle of red wine.
Right.
The profit
Yeah.
margin on this
Yeah.
one's higher. So you know what I mean? There's things like that
How
can.
close are we to doing? Because I know you have.
Azure
a
does
sys-
that.
We have a system where we know what people's preferences are.
Yeah, I
How
mean-
sophisticated is that, or will it improve?
That used to be a maitre d's job.
It's fairly automated, guys. I mean, we have your data. It's not a game. We actively are marketing to you, and when you make a reservation, your name and your phone number and your email are put in there, and that's associated with the table that you sit at on your computer, which rings a check. So automatically your profile is saved, and when you come back in, we'll notice trends in what you order. And over time, if we haven't seen you in 6 months, you might get an email with the email address
That's
you sent me
currently.
that says, "Hey, the lobster crepes you like,
Is
here's a
that
buy one get one."
is that
or
what you're
something."
doing right now?
Yeah, I don't do it though. The AI does it.
So you already are using
Yeah,
AI.
we're already using it.
We're already using it.
It's so
It's not like
integrated.
it's a little guy thing, but it works. I mean,
It's so integrated
It
into our
runs data.
lives.
It tracks what people do, and it tries to bring them back.
What about, we've gone from advertising in newspapers all the way now to going online and already being done where you can segment your groups and you can target certain people through digital advertising, or
Yeah,
how does
definitely.
is AI being used right now to do all of that?
I think so.
And
I
gonna
mean,
get
and
better.
I think disguised as something called algorithms, right? Algorithms running back in the marketing filtering programs that are doing that. The other thing that I think is going to really, I think, help guys is farming.
Oh yes, farming.
I don't.
Yeah.
We always talk like we want to be naturalists on this show, and there's nothing to. But these big, huge GPS-driven tractors, they seem like a good idea to me. to go out there and
Okay,
plant and row.
You bring up something interesting. The biggest automation that we have in this state just filed for bankruptcy.
Right.
App Harvest.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm so scared for those people. I mean, it's got like 300 people working at this plant. And then, it's probably just good business sense. They just grew too fast.
Yeah. Well,
But, it's interesting because they are so totally automated to grow that many tomatoes.
Well, I guess in that case, and I was listening to some people much smarter than me talk about it, and they made some comments like they built a huge infrastructure to grow to make a product that isn't that hard to grow without the infrastructure, like tomatoes. You never run out of tomatoes.
That's right. My father had millions.
Right.
Of tomatoes.
So and they're not a terribly expensive product either.
Right.
So and I think App Harvest was more of a proof of concept than anything else. I heard rumors. I don't think it was, but people were surmising that maybe they were really growing that. They were doing that so they could show they could grow hemp on a big scale. And I don't know that that's the case or anything like that. But it does seem like that was a lot of infrastructure to grow a product that we've never had a problem sourcing.
Yeah. Interesting.
What are your thoughts?
Or they bought all those farms and too fast or something. I don't
really know what to make of it right now,
just hope
guys.
they can-
I deal with a lot of fluctuations and availability and quality based on climate change and weather patterns and things that happen. So I don't know what kind of infrastructure we really need to build. I mean, it may be good that we have this thing there for the future. I don't know if we
you
needed.
would hope, because it was the hope of.
It seemed
like
like a
bringing
great
something
idea
to East
to
Kentucky.
supply tomatoes to the East Coast. I don't know where
Yeah.
the demand wasn't there. I mean, it seemed to, but I guess we already had plenty of tomatoes. I thought we were saying.
Yeah, that's what I've heard people saying, and I guess that makes sense. But
You're saying it was kind of a way to kind of. They just kind of misstepped a little bit because the idea was to set up the infrastructure and then do cucumbers. They were doing
in
different
opinion,
crops.
and not just mine, but other people's opinions. I've heard them say this is more of a proof of concept to show we can grow on a large scale in industrial greenhouses in places where you can't grow
And it
stuff.
seemed like it had to be efficient for
And then they overstepped.
transportation.
Right.
If we're not shipping from Mexico, but I don't know.
I don't think
Hopefully-
the end goal was just to grow tomatoes. I guess is what
but
I'm saying.
They still did a misstep here because they shouldn't be in Chapter 11 bankruptcy
yeah, I
either.
don't know what
with
happened.
But I think
people's
they did a lot of
jobs.
good too. I think they helped
They
people
did.
get jobs
And
in places
maybe
where there
they'll
weren't
turn
jobs.
it around. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a reorganization.
Bankruptcy
statute.
isn't death. Is not a death
It's not
sentence.
death.
It
People
doesn't-
think it is, but it's not. It's a reorganization kind of thing that they can do. What about what I mentioned, molecular cuisine?
Well,
is that something you would ever think about?
So you
I don't
kind
even know
of
what it
phrased
is.
it differently. I mean, I hear molecular gastronomy, but that's kind of an old term now. That's the stuff that we experience, say, at
Mm-hmm.
Alinea, where we're using some food grade products to kind of bend and alter all natural ingredients, and to do different things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what are you calling it?
Molecular cuisine.
Now, I don't exactly know where the
I don't know what that
AI
is.
gets into that.
It was. He would like the ingredients. This chef would like mix up, I don't know enough about AI to talk
Well, I can tell you this.
intelligently
There
about it,
are-
but put it into some sort of a computer program.
There are AI for home cooks where you can put in.
I'm looking it up.
I got tomatoes, olive oil, garlic. You can just name your ingredients, and it will give you a list of things you can cook with what you have on hand.
Okay.
And I wonder if it's a version of that.
knew?
I've got molecular gastronomy, so I'm familiar with that. That's kind of the chemist approach, really, to cooking.
Yeah, which you could put the inputs into a computer program.
Yeah, you can do
And-
that. You can.
So I guess that probably would make sense as having something that would dial in the ratios for you.
Right.
'Cause a lot of these,
And maybe twist them a bit or tweak
yeah,
them.
because how do you get more elasticity out of this?
Or maybe
or
a
that?
sauce or something,
Exactly. Okay, I can see how that could be used because some of these measurements get really precise, and we're talking about like just specks of grams of some of these food grade products. You add to a big volume of liquid to make it do the right thing. It's kind of
Right.
strange.
Where do you think
Usually
we're?
less than 1% by volume.
Do you think it'll go so far one way with technology that people will revert back to?
I think
just
so.
cook over fire. Just
Yeah,
meat
go back.
and fire.
We're
Yeah.
gonna eat dinner at a place called Campfire in Carlsbad, California, and that's the concept there is
just
campfire.
meat and fire.
I
Meat and
see
fire.
that you're gonna,
And do it. I'm going to take a picture, and that way I can write it off, right?
Yeah, exactly. Talk about it in the show. It's a done deal.
Yeah, I mean, dining out, I think a little bit more automated, but it's probably going to stay expensive.
Well, you see things coming back like quilting and, because people just kind of get so.
Crocheting, that's a big thing now.
I mean, it's like, no, stop. I just want a hamburger.
Do you think that, because I don't think about, and we only got about a minute left before we talk to Jake from Jake's Cigar Bar. Great dude, Sullivan grad. We're going to talk to him about bourbon and cigars. Can't wait. Do you think that, I think it's going to more affect the hospitality experience as far as serving. Do you ever see a day when servers will be replaced?
No, not
Maybe
in the
high-
fine dining
not fine,
segment,
yeah.
but you're not going to see them much on the. Depends on what you're paying for, guys. If at McDonald's, probably not. Probably not gonna have anybody there.
I gotta
McDonald's,
ask a question.
You can see how in 20 years McDonald's could fully automate.
Sometimes you want to celebrate and be.
I don't
served.
ever eat at fast food restaurants, but I have because I've had my grandkids a lot lately. It's expensive, in spite of the automation.
Yeah, mine was $11.50
what?
the other day for a value meal, and I'm like, man,
What?
I can get a
I know.
Wagyu burger with truffle fries at Azure for $18.
I
Right.
know.
No, right.
Sit down and eat on a plate.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's.
So I'd rather eat there once a week, and then
Yeah.
McDonald's twice a week.
Yeah.
All right, up next, Jake of Jake's Cigar Bar, on to talk bourbons and cigars and just all kinds of great
Unless
stuff.
McDonald's wants to sponsor.
Yeah. Right. We're on.
This is Food News and Chews Radio. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's Food News and Chews Radio, sponsored by Sullivan University. Welcome back to the show. Jacob. I know him as Jake, and you probably know him as Jake. Glancy,
right?
I never
Glancy.
say it right. Anyway,
Whatever.
Jake Cigar Bar. His last name is Cigar Bar, and his name is Jake, and he's a good dude, and he knows drinks and smokes better than anyone. How you doing, man?
Yeah.
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Doing all right.
We're
doing all right.
fine. We're fine. Tell us about all the things you're up to these days. We've not talked to you in a little while.
Well, right now I'm in Grand Island, New York, which is in between Buffalo and Niagara Falls.
Now,
Nice.
is this work or pleasure?
Yes. See, now I'm doing this phone call, or now I'm doing the Zoom. I can write the entire trip off.
Yeah, there you go.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Can I use that too in some form?
Yeah, you take a picture of your food at a dinner, and
Everything that I go out to eat.
yeah, and then you're done.
Yeah, my tax guy says I can't.
I know, it's tax guys.
What do they know?
What do they
What do they know?
So anyway, tell us about Jake's
Mine
when
likes
you get
bourbon,
back to
so
town.
he says yes a lot.
Yeah. Well, I want to know what's happening out of Brandon. What's
Texas
a
is-
lot of growth out there.
Yeah, tell us
Yeah,
about
Brandon is exploding. We just got a Hampton Inn, which is very exciting. You know, you kind of know when the hotels start coming in that's kind of the final straw for the kind of tourism in the area and everything, which has been really
Yeah.
nice. It came in right in time for the concourse and Barbasol and all that, so that was really nice. We have a lot more. There's more apartments going in out there. There's talk of some more restaurants. You know, we'd love to see
Wow.
a couple of local favorites out there. I mean, it wouldn't mind if you did something out there. That could be kind of nice.
Well. That'd be cool. Now, one thing about the hotels for you, Jake, is I think you're exactly what somebody staying in
Oh,
a hotel
yeah.
in Kentucky is looking for. I mean,
Lots of
that's
bourbon.
kind of like
Well,
you can just stop the
we're
bourbon trail
definitely
in Brandon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're unofficial. We're the unofficial end spot to the Bourbon Trail, as a lot of people say. We do
Yeah.
a lot. One cool thing we really do is we work with these tour buses that do these barrel distillery tours, like horse and barrel tours and things like that.
Yeah.
And what they do is they have bags, and we take them up to. We have a private room upstairs. We take them up there and we walk them through not only how to make our world famous smoked old fashioned, but why we make it that way, why we pair it with certain bourbons and rye and things like that, and explain to them kind of what the history and a little kind of cigars 101, you know, how to cut them, how to light them.
Oh.
If you've
that
never
kind of
been
thing.
to
So it's really
Jake's-
neat that we be a part of that.
If you've never been to Jake's Cigar Bar, the I call it the new location because there
Yeah.
used to be another location across the street, but the new location is probably 5 years old now. It is one of the most impressive
Oh,
facilities.
yeah.
It is one of those flawless buildings. You go, this was
what it
built to
should
be exactly what it should be.
is.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now tell us when you walk in. Anything? Tell us about you. They said you have a private room on the second floor. What else? So you walk in. What's your Jake's experience? Walk up to the bar, right?
Well, my Jake's experience with Twitch is that he only shows up when his wife lets him and Scott Frazier's willing to pay for it.
He knows me so well. He knows me so well. You know what's so funny is my friends now call my wife and be like, can Twitch come out and play? And yeah. I mean, it is, you go in there, and what I love about Jake's is there's always like 5 or 6 dudes who, no matter what time of day you go in there, no matter what day of the week you go in there, the same 5 guys are there. And it is like, and then obviously there are other people there, but there's this core of regulars. And you go, this is what I've always wanted to be. I've always wanted to be a norm somewhere. I've always wanted to be a regular.
See, that's a breath of fresh air for me because I don't know. That's how it used to be. And
right.
You just don't really see that from a place anymore. I'm glad Jake's is there. It's kind of a haven for us old school, what up, Kentuckian gentlemen, right? You know, where you go have a smoke and a bourbon.
I was going to say, I bet a typical person, probably a regular, has a cigar and a glass of something sitting right there.
But what's beautiful about these guys, they're ambassadors because even though they're there drinking and having a good time, they're also they don't mind telling you they're like, hey, try this, or hey, smoke this while you drink this, and it's a place that you go in and you immediately go,
yeah, I can relax.
No, our regulars are really good about that. We love the fact even that what they do, they feel such a kind of pride of ownership of the place. I mean, they a lot of times know more of what's going on there than me. That if somebody starts acting out of line as the employees and stuff, we don't even have to take care of it. They'll step up and be like, hey, buddy. There was even an incident where a guy was not acting appropriately, and one of my big regulars, call him Big D, he stood up. He's 400
Big
pounds,
D.
6'5", you know, big.
Big D.
I know Big D.
We know Big D.
He's also a Zoomer fan, and so. Yeah. But no, he steps up and he throws this guy out,
and he can do it.
And looks at the bartender and said, that guy's not coming back, and you can just put his tab on me. So he made sure we got paid, and he threw him out.
Yeah, that sounds like it. That's good.
You can't ask for a better clientele.
Sense of ownership that we have.
No, that's what a neighborhood spot should be, but it's much more world class than just a neighborhood spot. That's kind of what's the beautiful about it. It has that kind of mix between it, like world class bourbons and facility.
Well, that was what was so
that
neat about the hotel aspect is because we have kind of a rewards program, and it keeps track of kind of the home base of where credit cards are used in the store, and we hover about 25 to 35% of our business comes from more than 30 miles away.
Wow.
And that's
wow.
Yeah, so that's a destination spot, really. So I need to know something.
It's very, very much a destination.
For our listeners, guys, I see lines out the door at Liquor Barn whenever there's some kind of bottle release. And back in the day, it was Pappy or whatever, right? Now I'm like, I'll drive by Azure, I got to go to work, it's 9 a.m., and there's people who are lined up all the way to Waffle House, and it's like, what are they doing? Like, they're releasing the new Maker's Mark, and I'm like, so what's going on out there? I mean, those bourbon craze, but what's hot right now? What are people going just nuts about?
People are luckily. I mean, most of my people are kind of bourbon nerds. So there's a lot of cool stuff. Like one of our favorite barrel picks we've done actually wasn't from Kentucky. It was from Starlight up in Indiana. And it was really neat because we were there to pick a bourbon, and then they asked if we wanted to try. They did a double oaked barrel proof program, and they asked if we wanted to try it. And my wife, being who she is, Autumn from Texas, and goes, "Yep, we'll take that barrel too." And they're like, "Well, wait, no, it's not for sale." She goes, "Okay, we'll just take half of it then." And then they're like, "No, it's not. It's really not for sale." And then she just stared them down until they went to the master distiller and they sold us half the barrel. And
I was going to say, I know Autumn, and I'm guessing she left with that barrel.
No, there's no, absolutely. I paid for it and she got it, and that's just the way it is.
Well, that's good.
Hey, I got to ask you, what is on your T-shirt? Help me. Is all I can see.
Help me, I'm on a family vacation.
Oh, that's good.
Now,
and it's way more appropriate than you could imagine.
Yeah. I got to ask you, and I've heard this, I've heard different answers from different people, but I trust you, and I think you know what you're talking about, on some things. There's always some bourbon that's very hard to find, and sometimes it's like Blanton's. You can't find Blanton's.
Yeah,
I get that. But why is Buffalo Trace regular run-of-the-mill Buffalo Trace that seems to be one of the hardest things to find right now. And
a lot of brands.
Don't know. Is there a reason for that?
You know, and I hope they don't fault me for this, but it's because Buffalo can.
Mm-hmm.
They can do whatever they want. They can create demand. They can create flow. They can create hysteria over anything at any point in time. And it's just a great drinker, you know. And so that's, a lot of people want it just for that. And after that period of recent history that shall be unnamed, there's a lot of drinkers out there right now. So they, you know, they're going through a lot of Buffalo, and they've kind of gotten used to that kind of stuff, and they're not kind of cracking their, you know, foolproof Wellers and things like that. So they buy those to drink, and then also it's become, I think a lot of it is getting filtered out. It's just that continuation of outside of Kentucky. And Buffalo is just such a big name thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. The people outside of Kentucky think that anywhere in Kentucky, the shelves are just lined with whatever you want, and it's just not the case.
Yeah.
No.
You know, people tend to look at when you're from out of state and you know, ask people about bourbon, and that, you know, someone from Kentucky starts talking about bourbon, and you say, well, my daily drinker is. They look at you like you have a problem. Like, oh, this is my daily drinker. Like, this is my daily driver. This is my daily drinker. This is my special occasion drinker. You know,
this is my company cornbread. This is my family cornbread. Yeah.
For I think for a lot of people, their daily drinker is something like Buffalo Trace.
It
is. It is. And you know, I mean, mine is Benchmark, which is also a Buffalo product.
Like,
you know, but even for the longest time, I couldn't get it. Now I do. Now, you guys probably know because you're more in the industry, but there's also a big issue over the last 6 months because of Sazerac switching distributors, you know, going from Republic to Kentucky Eagle. So that caused a lot of supply and tension issues and things like that, which hopefully have actually started to get a little bit better and will hopefully continue to.
So, yes, what he's speaking of, speaking of benchmarks, you have to hit certain benchmarks to receive certain allotments of certain brands.
Right.
And that's, you know, it's an interesting way to go about it. I'm sure Jake has more words than me on it, but it can be frustrating sometimes. You just really want to pour really good bourbon.
Because, like, we'll have a meeting with, you know, and I love the people at Sazerac. They want to get their product as badly as we do.
Yeah, right.
So but they literally will come in and say, hey, you need to buy more of this product, this product, this product, and this product, and that will help you with your allocation. Well, then we go, oh, okay, send us that product, that product, that product, and that product. And they go, oh, well, that's out of stock. And it's like, well, what? You know, it's like how are we supposed to build up our numbers if you don't have the product to sell us?
And I think a lot of people are the misinformation that, you know, oh, they go, well, it's at the liquor store. Well, if you own a bar, you can't go to a liquor store, buy a bottle, come back to your restaurant, come back to your bar and sell it. You have to buy from a distributor. You can't just go get stuff off the shelf and bring it in. Yeah. So there's also that. It's a little different for people in the industry.
Well, and you can't buy, you know, like it would probably be a lot better if you could buy directly from Buffalo. You know, I mean, there's this kind of artificial middleman that Kentucky has created, and they do it with cigars too. I mean, it's even worse with cigars. We have to. They so badly want their 3-tier taxes on cigars that even though there isn't a distributor that would sell me cigars from the manufacturer of these big companies like Arturo Fuente and Davidoff, I have to be the distributor and the retailer. So I have to buy it as a wholesaler, pay taxes to the state, then sell it as a retailer and pay taxes to the state. So they're going to get their 3 tiers, even if they can't find anybody to do it.
Death and taxes, man.
Ridiculous.
Death and taxes
Cannot be avoided.
Nope.
You're out of state. You're just talking about a bourbon from Indiana. And I'm seeing a lot of this coming through my door. You know, people bringing in bourbons, and I'll get your opinion on it. You know, there's some producers out there that are calling things bourbon, and rightfully so, from New York, where you are, from Indiana, from Texas. What do you think about some of these guys? Are you find like they're being accepted, or?
I used to be a hardcore that it's not bourbon unless it's from Kentucky, and I still think the best of the best is coming out of Kentucky. There is some really good stuff coming out of different areas. I think a lot of people don't realize that a majority of the brands on, say, we have a huge bourbon wall, you know, 1,000 bourbons and whiskeys. I mean, probably all of those are made at a total of 10 different spots.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's because a lot of places are right now, they're just buying other people's juice and putting their label on it. And, you know, they're coming up with their own shtick to
Right.
sell someone else's bourbon. And that's just, you know, it's fine. But it's just like, well, this is the best thing I've ever had. Well, you just told me that the exact same thing with a different label on it wasn't any good. So what, you know, it doesn't.
What are some of the
Collecting
Business.
psychology, right?
What a business.
What are some of the better out-of-state bourbons? Because the one that kind of changed my mind, because I was same
Really?
thing.
You changed your mind?
See,
yeah,
everybody I
because-
talk to is starting to warm up to these guys, and I'm
Yeah.
okay
Yeah.
with it. You
High
know?
West.
And the thing is, I've been blind tasted and sampled, and
Yeah.
I got to admit, some of them have been all right.
High West,
bourbon-
and
Heart,
I think
but-
it's out of Utah, is really good stuff. And
Utah, isn't that
I think
interesting?
I think it's Utah where that's from. But there are a few. I know there are a couple big ones out of New York, and
I'm
I don't-
surprised.
Like these firefighters brought some by. It
I'm
was like
surprised that the
something.
bourbon industry in Kentucky hasn't figured out a way to block that.
What do you like,
either.
Jake?
So I'd say probably my favorite out of state is Starlight. And then another one that we actually just had the founder out to Jake's. It's out of Las Vegas. It's called Smoke Wagon. And he kind of reached out to us because of our connection with Tombstone and all that stuff we do on all of our barrel picks. But it had some really good stuff, some barrel cut stuff, some kind of hotter stuff. Really some good things that are coming out of what they're doing.
That's awesome.
We got about a minute left. It's Jake from Jake Cigar Bar, who is a great friend of the show and a great bar owner. Just this is the place where adults want to go drink and have a smoke.
Yeah, and buy goods.
You're still
and
not
you got
getting
a
free
store.
drinks, lady.
What'd he say?
Well, he said, "I'm not getting free drinks." Well, then I don't know this guy.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you,
keep it that way.
what in your opinion, what is the underrated, underpriced, the bourbon that you should try even if you've got what you like, you drink what is the one that everyone should try because it's underrated?
Yeah.
I mean, the benchmark line, the benchmark foolproof, the single barrel, those are really outstanding for what they are. I mean, for the price, they're really, really good.
And pair smoke with it.
Yeah, pair of smoke. Yeah, that's
I
a
would
big deal.
say with that line, I'd probably say anything from Arturo Fuente, 858s, Hemingways, those would all be fantastic.
The guy knows his
I
stuff.
love it.
Jake,
Yeah.
Jake Cigar
Thank
Bar.
you.
Thank you so much for being on today, brother.
Thank you, Jake.
Anytime, from
Appreciate
anywhere.
it.
Talk
Thanks,
to you
buddy.
soon. Back in a moment. Food
All right,
News and
thanks.
Choose Radio.